The border to the U.S. remains closed to non-essential travel. It'll have to open sooner or later, and mayors of border cities and towns want to be a part of the reopening discussion. And that includes our first guest today, Fort Erie Mayor Wayne Redekop. Wayne, it's great to see you today.
You too, Mike. Thank you for having me.
You were very vocal that you and other border city and town mayors want to be at the table. When will those discussions start to take place, and have you heard back?
Yeah, we actually had a meeting with Minister Blair last Thursday. That was the second time we've met with him. And, he's been very receptive, very open. He's offered the lines of communication to his office at any time to any of us. If we have questions in between times when we have an opportunity to meet, if we have issues that we think need to be brought to his attention immediately. So this is, for border mayors, this is a journey that began really after 9/11. Because we've had, as you know, thickening of the border immediately after that tragedy, and then efforts to try to improve the movement of people and goods across the border for over 2 decades now, almost 2 decades. And so we've had a lot of communication with the upper levels of government. The biggest challenge being that the representatives in Ottawa and in Washington are primarily not close to the border. We do have our representatives that live along the border, and they understand the border dynamic, but the vast majority of them don't live near the border, and so they don't really have a full appreciation of what's going on. Hence our desire to at least be able to provide information and input and our knowledge with respect to how the border works.
And your cohorts across the border in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, are they also hoping to get a seat at the table?
Well, it won't be at this table. They'll be wanting to sit at the table for the American side, but I'm hoping that we'll have an opportunity to have some further dialogue with them. It's been very difficult during this pandemic to really have a lot of open dialogue and discussion. And as you know, the objectives of the representatives along the border on either side of the border don't always align. I think the Americans have been much more vocal in wanting greater access across the border than we have. And their experience has been with the pandemic has been significantly different than ours. So we have our reasons for taking the positions we take.
Are you still fielding a lot of calls from those property owners from the United States who want to get up to their homes in Fort Erie and Crystal Beach?
Yeah, and of course, not so much in the middle of the winter, but as the weather starts to improve, I expect that we'll get more. And by and large, they're very understanding and very knowledgeable. I mean, these are people that I consider part of our community, the ones that live in Fort Erie. And when they're up here, they're great supporters of the community, and they've always been great supporters of the activities and the events that take place here. So, I'm sympathetic to that. And Minister Blair has indicated that they are working on protocols where they can look at ways that the border can be opened. It'll be phased, it will be gradual, and it will be based on science and data. And there will be protocols that will be in place so that testing and isolation will be major tools in whatever the plan is for reopening. And that's something that all the mayors want to know. We want to know, okay, so maybe we can't open the border today, and maybe it shouldn't be open for a number of months yet. But what is the plan? What are the markers for when we know that we're moving in a direction where there can be some movement, and it would have to be gradual, which it will be. And as I said, it would have to be based on protocols, because I don't think any of us are prepared to sacrifice the safety of our communities so that people can cross the border. And remember, this goes both ways. People are crossing both ways.
Right now, I believe the last date we heard for a possible border opening was February 21st. Do you expect we'll hear from Minister Blair about an extension of that very soon?
I don't think there's any question that there'll be an extension, and I think that we'll hear from them soon. And I would expect that there'll also be some indication of some of the steps that the federal government will implement in order to start moving towards recognizing what protocols could be put in place to ease some of the restrictions. But for those people, particularly Ontarians, that think that the restrictions are going to be lifted soon and across the board, I just don't believe that that's going to happen. Simply because until there's been a lot more vaccinations, until there's the ability to test more and make sure that they can follow up with anyone who has to isolate when they come into the country, I think that we'll still be moving forward gradually, and but it's going to happen. And the question is when and what will the plan be? And that's what really people want to know. They want to know what is the plan, and that's what the mayors have discussed with Minister Blair, and that's the type of thing that we want to have some input into.
Wayne, thank you for joining us today, and we'll await that announcement from Minister Blair. Thanks again.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it.